Don't say fuck or bugger. But weak specifically.
So Indian variant, Matt Hancock, and then Priti Patel's weird photo opportunity dragging people out of the house.
Don't, honestly.
And this is just how things are now, right? In 2021. This is
our life.
And all of the polls seem to suggest that I and you, we are out of our fucking minds, Tan, because this government are amazing and they're going to stay in power for 10 years, right? How?
I'm getting angry. I can feel myself getting angry as you say it. Like, I can't.
I know, but it's important that we say this stuff out loud. So,
oh, I know. I've got to face it.
Yeah. So my question to you is, like, how the fuck are we supposed to get rid of a party that is this far ahead in the polls and everyone appears to love, even though they're demonstrably shit and have nobody's best interests at heart? How are you supposed to fix that problem? Because I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, a big part of it, I think, big part of the control is like the tabloids.
Yeah, I agree.
And our elections have been corrupted for years by Murdoch, by Russia. So to think that we've actually got an actual democracy in itself is
shaky.
It's just not true. Like, we just don't have one. So, and if, I don't know, like, I'm going to try and be inventive. I'm not being facetious, I swear, but if they've created a post-truth state where logic doesn't work, where facts don't work anymore, maybe we could just lie loads about stuff.
You know what? I saw a tweet earlier in the week where somebody said, do Labour just need to start playing dirty? And it really got me thinking, because I was thinking that obviously the thing that lefties or progressives like about left-leaning parties is that they tend to be nice. You know, they've got good values and they're thinking about the broader community and the greater good and all that. So it's quite a shift. But then you ask yourself, well, is it worth it to, you know, play a bit dirty to get these motherfuckers out, if it means that for the greater good you get to put some policies in? Because you can't
absolutely, like celebrity deathmatch, you know, just get Johnson versus Starmer could handle himself. He's not a small lad, you know. He could he could easily take out Johnson.
I mean, I wasn't talking about like full on, like, you know, bludgeon each other to death. I just mean like,
oh no, I am like, you know, like stripped to the waist, mano a mano, you know, like old school rules.
It could be an interesting way of like solving any deficit issues. Like, you could do a pay-per-view. People would pay for it.
It's a bit Black Mirror, isn't it? We're airing into that territory now. Just put them both in a room with a pig and see who wins. I don't know. But I don't actually know. Like, I've made a little note as I showed you earlier on, and literally next to this, I've just put fuck knows on my pad, like, because I genuinely. I don't know if 150,000 people being killed by the government hasn't done it. If, you know, just no accountability yet. I mean, well, no, that's irrelevant to this. In terms of Labour, I think issues definitely run deeper than Starmer. I was a big fan of Jeremy Corbyn, like a huge fan. But I didn't like ignore his faults, and he had plenty. He totally muffed up Brexit, totally ruined. Like he was a kind of unconvinced leaver, a Remainer, wasn't he? He wanted to leave.
Yeah.
He wanted to leave the EU. And when you've got to the point where you're seeing Labour revelling in the gains that the Tories have made in council elections, and you've got them tribal to the point where they would see the party sink, then you're just like, well, if that's going on in Labour and that's the opposition, what the hell do we do? Like, I'm.
Yeah, I think I'm with you in terms of like the factionalism within Labour. That seems to be something that the Tories actually handled quite well. Like, when it was their turn around the sort of, you know, the UKIP era, and UKIP were, but I think at its peak, there was talk of about 15 or 17 Tory MPs defecting to UKIP unless Cameron started making movements that looked a little bit more UKIPified, right? So they started to become like blue kip at that point. And that's how he saved his bacon. But part of that was that he committed to a referendum, and a few years later, here we are. But when it's Labour's turn to address the factionalism within, they seem to operate in a sort of tunnel vision. Whoever the leader is surrounded by sycophants, and whether it's Corbyn or Starmer or whoever, they just seem to bulldoze ahead with their vision. They don't seem to make much of an attempt to unite the rest of the party. And it's the sign of a sort of, it's truly weak leadership in both of them. And I was like you, I didn't think Corbyn was perfect. I thought he had some nice ideas. I thought he's probably a good bloke. His heart's probably in the right place. But I always said, and will continue to say, that he was a shit leader. He'd failed to unite his party. He wasn't particularly great at PMQs. He didn't sell.
He was stubborn as hell.
He didn't put forward a clear case on Brexit. He came across as disingenuous, and he fucked up two general elections. So this idea that he was this perfect leader, or we really fucked up by getting rid of him and putting Starmer in, is fantasy. And now, similarly with Starmer, I like him. I think he's all right. I think he's, what's the cliche for, like, forensic with the detail. I think he's pretty good in PMQ.
He's smart, sharp.
But he's not a. Do you know what he doesn't have? He doesn't have what we were talking about earlier with policies and being a salesman and selling it to the electorate. He doesn't have.
Agree 100%.
He's not a salesman. He's the guy you actually want as foreign secretary next to the leader.
Agreed. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, I was saying something very similar to this to a friend the other day. Like, absolutely agree with that. But at the same time, I mean, he's a decent guy. I mean, when you've got a human rights lawyer up against the most morally bankrupt person in the world, and they're still not winning. Yeah, it's a lot of it's, I think, to do with, I mean, as we were talking about earlier on, I think it's the lack of accountability in the press. It is shocking. I was watching the thick of it again for like the millionth time about a couple of weeks ago, and they were talking about how if you don't say anything, you create a vacuum of speculation. Everything just gets sucked into the vacuum. This story's going to blow this, and I remember I was thinking, what the people in government are being held accountable, and it just felt like creepy. This was only about 10 years ago, and to see both sides getting decimated by the press to some extent, it was just alien. Yeah. Because that does not happen anymore. You've not got that happening. And when that doesn't happen and the people aren't seeing the reality of things, that's when it gets frightening.